We believe what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine right now is turbocharging the shock to high valuation stocks that began last February when we were all getting vaccinated and hopes were that the economy would continue to gain momentum. And so we now believe that Russia and Ukraine have turbocharged that shock and actually hopefully moved it into a period that is very cathartic and helps people understand that what's going on right now, from our point of view at least, is that the higher interest rates and higher inflation are acting like taxes on the system. And we've been talking for a while about this, about consumption slowing down dramatically. If you look at retail sales, and I'm talking about real retail sales, take out the inflation and real consumption. We've seen a dramatic slowdown since October, and we are beginning to see inventories pile up. All of that is working out the way we expected it to. Our surprise is that many economists and strategists out there aren't putting two and two together. They're paying attention to other variables, which there is conflicting evidence, but they're paying attention to other variables that support their point of view. Just like during COVID, innovation is going to solve the problems associated with supply disruptions. Here we go again, supply chain problems, this time out of Russia and Ukraine, with energy and food, some of the areas most disrupted. So these are necessities. So this is getting very serious. And we believe these are serious taxes on the consumer, especially lower income consumers, and explain why consumer sentiment has fallen apart broadly. So let's go through that right now. And we will wind up saying that because of what's going on right now, innovation is going to get another booster shot. COVID certainly accelerated many trends, and we think the higher costs associated with supply chain issues, and now even more so with Ukraine and Russia, that companies and consumers are going to turn to innovation, and that whatever our growth expectations for our companies were within the last year, they have just accelerated again, given this new crisis. So the crypto networks are proving their worth as a neutral technology platform. We're seeing donations of both Bitcoin and Ether to the Ukraine. I think it's 50 million, if I'm not mistaken, in the last week. And we're also seeing Bitcoin as a currency hedge for Russian citizens who are watching the ruble get hammered here. And, these are not the oligarchs. In fact, as we were discussing at our brainstorm today, there's not enough Bitcoin out there for the oligarchs to hedge. They have been hedging for years anyway. This is for the average Russian citizen who actually is aghast, many of them as we hear it, aghast at what's going on in Russia. While the public markets don't appreciate what's going on in the innovation world, in fact, quite the opposite. They have taken a sledgehammer to these stocks in the last year. The private markets certainly appreciate what innovation can do and will do to help solve the problems that have arisen from the coronavirus crisis, the supply chain problems, now Russia and the Ukraine. According to a study that Max Friedrich, one of our fintech analysts, has done using Crunchbase, the Crunchbase database, it looks like while innovation stocks in the public markets have dropped, certainly pure play innovation, those that are not in the indexes, those in the indexes are the innovation stocks in the indexes tend to be a little more old world. We even see from Meta Platforms, formerly Facebook, that the once disruptor is being disrupted. But if you look at the non-benchmark innovation stocks, you'll see that they're down 60, 70%. So it's a replay of the COVID crisis. And as we said back then, innovation solves problems. And I'll say it again because it is true. What we're seeing the private world do is actually move into up rounds over the last 20 years, the last year, the average up round has been 20%. So down 60%. 60% in the public markets, up 20% in the private markets. And we think the private markets have gotten the plot and corroborate our point of view. And truth will win out, just like this idea that innovation solves problems was a winning strategy coming out of the coronavirus. We believe it will be ever more so as our 5 platforms, DNA sequencing, adaptive robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology all scale exponentially during the next 5 to 10 years. And we're seeing evidence that these superior growth rates will power through any recession, and that innovation-oriented stocks are going to, from a relative point of view, look much, much better from a relative growth point of view than anything you'll find, certainly in the value space, but even in the more traditional growth space. One of the metrics we keep our eye on is energy consumption as a share of GDP. And that is reaching a high that we have not seen since 08-09. And every time it has reached that level, it's again this question of purchasing power and consumer sentiment. Every time it has reached that level, we have gone into recession. I noticed today the White House is proposing a ban on Russian imports. I think that Russian imports account for roughly 3% of our energy imports. So that's not devastating, but it will cause again more problems, and it is why one of the reasons prices are going up. Now, in a rising inflation environment, interest rates are not supposed to come down, and at the short end of the curve, they are not coming down, but at the long end, they are, and we'll get into that in a bit. The worst performing sectors are associated with the consumer. Again, I think the loss of purchasing power is a big problem for the consumer. So consumer discretionary, consumer services, and technology, which despite innovation getting a booster shot from problems, as innovation solves problems, it is a high beta sector. And so many investors just shy away from it when trouble seems to be on the horizon.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much, much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon, click on the link now. I'll see you there.